Hey, my name is Abigail and welcome back to my channel. Today I am continuing with my Planets as Characters series, and today we are doing Earth. So again, I started sketching on my iPad in Procreate. I just feel like I have a little bit more control. I just get so jittery and uncomfortable trying to sketch like on a paper with a pencil in front of the camera. I get a little camera shy, and I'm just very particular with how I want the sketches to turn out. And so this just gives me a much more controlled environment, I guess, to make sure that it turns out the way I want it to turn out. So for Earth, I was really debating on how I wanted her to look. I drew this really fun little figure, and then I do end up covering up most of it. I wanted her, I knew, to have big curly hair. And then I struggled a lot with the dress. I thought about kind of a bodycon dress because I love when I draw like a really nice figure and I'm like, oh, perfect, I'll put her in a tight dress. But no, I didn't think that that's what I wanted. And so I kind of knew I wanted something big. And so here I was kind of like, I liked that almost like dropped waist, and I love a dramatic cape moment, but I just wasn't happy with any of it. So I decided to go for a classic ball gown. I also had debated some bigger sleeves, but I didn't really want to put big fancy sleeves on her again because I'd already done that multiple times and I didn't like it, and I didn't like the drop waist end with the big ball gown. So then I decided to go very classic, almost princessy kind of vibes, and I trimmed it with this beautiful little like lace almost pattern, and I put her in a sheer top with lace. And then I started adding the embellishments, like a little tiara. Overall, I ended up being really happy with it. I knew she was going to turn out a little cornier almost than the others, just because Earth is quite overdone almost, I would say. So I printed it out and then transferred it using a light box onto a piece of Express It blending card, and then I inked it in with a Micron in black. I had sketched it on with a pink Prismacolor Col-Erase colored pencil. That is a mouthful, but anyway. And then I got to coloring her. I used my Copic markers and I went in with this bit of a mid-tone for the skin color, and I am coloring over the long sleeves there because, as you can see, like a lot of the detail didn't end up getting transferred over because I knew I was going to add that in later. But I go ahead and color in her skin tone in that sleeve area because I knew it was going to be like a mesh, like lace overlay. And the way I do that when I'm doing markers is I start with the skin tone as normal. And then I find the color that I want. I make sure it's like a lighter color so it's not like, this just doesn't work with like a super dark color when you're coloring with markers and stuff. And I just color right on top of it then. I try to keep it like quick and a thin coat so that way it doesn't like bleed out too much of the color underneath. And I go in with her blush, and I tried to make sure, I don't have a full collection of Copics, so it's sometimes hard to find the colors that I think will look the best on the different skin tones. And then I do go in with orange. It really livens up the shadows, I think. It makes it so they don't feel quite so washed out. I don't know. I felt that it makes it look more realistic. And so I do that. I do like kind of like purple. I do like for the purple color in the shadows, and then I make sure there's like a brighter color, and then the skin tone, I don't want to use the word normal, but then the skin tone color, the base layer. And sometimes I do go in to darken it up with a darker skin tone. I try to stick away from that if I can, just because I want it to make sure it looks very realistic and not just brown on brown on brown. I want there to be more vibrancy in the colors. And so here is like the tedious task of just blending the colors back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the one marker was dying, so I had to go over everything again. And here I am then doing that sheerness. This was the lightest green I had, and at first I was like, damn, it's kind of dark. But it ended up being perfectly all right, and I was happy with it. So, like the other planets, on the bodice of her dress, I have kind of a rough little outline of like Earth, like just the water and the land and stuff, because obviously that's like the biggest like trademark for the Earth compared to the other planets in the solar system, is the fact that there is oceans and the different land masses and whatnot. And I just thought it was so cute. Like I said, it was going to be cheesier because I did the blue and the green, the very classic Earth, you know. So I probably could have, if I wanted to, incorporate more white, but I was kind of tired of working with white because the last two planets were both quite light colored. So it is what it is. And then I knew I wanted her hair as well to be a dark brown. So I'm going in with my first layer of brown, and I kind of do this flicking motion starting in the spot that I know I want to be dark and flicking towards a lighter part, so that way it leaves those little pretty highlights that I go in and fill in later with a bit of a lighter color. Coloring hair, I feel like, is simultaneously so fun, and also I hate it very much. I don't know why, it just feels like a bit of a tedious task. And on the bodice, back to the planet, I really wanted to add a little bit more dimension to it. So I kind of then, the center of the land and in the center of the water is a bit of a darker color. And I also really wanted to highlight kind of the sky of Earth, because I know that that's what makes it unique, is our atmosphere and our, perfect distance from the sun to maintain life, all that business and whatnot. So I had her entire skirt is a sky with clouds, a pretty blue sky. And I make sure to, I put this fun little gradient in there because that's one of my probably favorite things to do. And it was a lot harder when you're doing traditional and, the clouds are in the way, so you have to color around them, and then it just makes it difficult. This would have been a really fun one to have done digitally, but I'm doing this traditionally. And I did think about like busting out paints and whatnot, but I hadn't done that for any of the other ones thus far, and so I didn't really want to go that far. But then I messed up there and I used that purple and it ended up being a lot darker than I wanted, so I try to blend it out a little bit, but I think it ends up making the clouds look a little messier than I'd like. But I think overall I add so much more detail to it that by the end of it, it doesn't look that bad. So, and I start from the bottom, and this marker was dying. That is a running theme when it comes to my traditional art, is markers dying. I need refills, and they're just, I love that Copic's refill, and I know that it's like so much more worth, like you definitely get your money's worth out of it because you can fill it up like how many times, yada yada, but they're just so expensive to buy, especially when I've put it off for so long that I need like 20 refills. That's just so much money. But yeah, so then there I am kind of blocking out the rest of the clouds and whatnot and kind of coloring it in. Well, and I had done that flicking motion at the bottom, and then I realized that, well, I was only blending two colors together, so I didn't need to do that. And I wanted the blue was looking patchy, so I just kept going back over it and back over it and back over it. So, and I had to put a bit of a gradient in these clouds because at the top the clouds were the color of the sky at the bottom, so I had to bust out this lighter blue, and then it was dying, but luckily I did have a refill for that. So every time it cuts a little bit, that's me refilling it. Well, maybe I did just cut all of it out, but I did have to like stop and refill and refill and refill because I wasn't doing it like the proper way. I was just dripping some onto the end because I did not have time for that. I was losing light very, very fast because it's barely into winter, and so I am ready for it to be brighter out again. And I did more, that lighter blue all in the center. I just kind of wanted it like light, pretty. I don't know. I always think of when it comes to dresses, that middle part, when it's kind of like layered like that, always seems to be like a lighter color. So that's just what it is. Because I don't want to use white. I do everything in my power to not leave the paper white ever. So that was me adding a bit of light. And then I do come back in there and go over the patchy part of that side of the dress, which makes it look so much better. And then I begin on the other side, and I decided it would probably be much, much easier if I did the stupid clouds first. And let me tell you, it was. Lesson learned. The other side goes way faster. And I know it's funny, I did say in my other video that I wanted them all to like be holding something representative of like the planet, yada yada, and I completely ditched that for Earth. I don't know, she already is very like cringy almost, I would say. Like she just is very, there's no way that if like, oh, what planet is she? She's Earth, very obviously. So I didn't really want to cloud it up with more stuff, like especially since I wasn't going for like corny. I wanted to go for like actually try to make it as pretty as I could. So I did not do that. I might do it for the others. I think I might make it a little bit more of like, oh, if it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know. But, and here I am going in with a darker brown to darken up the shadows because her hair was not as dark as I had wanted it. And I do go in then too with a lighter brown and fill in the highlight area because, like I said, I try not to leave it white. If I want white, I like to go and add it back in after I'm done. And then I had tossed around, I could not pick what I wanted her lipstick color to be. Like, I had been debating that for quite a while. Like, the whole time I had finished drawing her into the coloring, I just, whatever. And I finally, like, last minute, right then, decided brown. She had a very neutral tone going, and I love the monochromatic brown, like her brown skin and her brown hair. And since I knew I wasn't going to be doing brown eyes, because like I said, trying to go for that goddessy vibes, so I picked like the entire eye gets colored, I decided to do brown lipstick, and I'm very happy with that choice. And this was me doing the eyes and then adding a little bit more of the orange back into her face. You know, once you get kind of done, like I always start with the skin, but I usually come back to it just because once you add in all the rest of the color, you just find that the face could probably use a bit more. So that's what happened. And then, kind of similar to the way that my last one, Venus, had a lot of details in the white pen, this one had a lot of coloring done in the white. Like, I brought back out all the pearls and the highlights, and there's glitter to the dress, and I needed to do the lace on the sleeves. Let me tell you, the best of this is yet to come. If you're thinking it looks pretty iffy, you're not alone. It looks way better here within the next 5 minutes. So I will take this moment though to tell you, if you like what you see, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. I would love to hear from you. And if you want to see more art, because I do a lot more, not just what you see here, which is very little, you can see my Instagrams are linked below. I have one for art, and I have one for bullet journal / business, because I have a sticker business. Speaking of that, it is also linked below my Etsy shop. And I do a podcast with my best friend. And if you want to hear us talk about all kinds of fun stuff, from flowers to colors to fashion, check out the link below as well. Linked below are also all of the supplies that I use. So everything that appears in this video that I use in this drawing is down below. Now, back to drawing. I am adding all of the fun details in the lace. It is kind of a flower applique and a bit of a, the collars, like the cuffs and stuff. And I do go back over it later because I don't want it to stay white. I want to tone it down a little bit so that way it matches the green. So I do the rest of the dress in the white, And then I go back and color over it with that green Copic marker, the same one that I used before, so that way the pen is tinted green, and that's really fun. If I had had a green pen that I liked, I probably would have just used a green pen, but I don't have that. But I also, back to what it is I'm actually doing at hand, I liked to add kind of the white highlight to the top of the clouds. It makes them feel more magical, and then I go in with the like little glittery sparkles, and I really liked that. And then it's so fun because it is raised, so then when the piece is done, you can like run your hand over it, and it's got little bumps all over it. Just it's so satisfying. But adding sparkly glitter things is like my favorite part of any piece. Like if I get to use a lot of white pen, I'm a happy girl. So there I am toning down the white a little bit, and I loved it. It really kind of pulled the piece together. I had to wait a bit because this pen is quite juicy because it has to be so opaque, and I would not have wanted to color that over a wet pen because it kind of would have ruined the nib a little bit. And then I was trying to debate on what I wanted to do to add the lace in the bottom. I debated white, but I didn't want white. I thought that'd be too much. So I picked out the sky blue Posca pen, and I go in to add that little lace trim. I don't show all of it because it's literally the same thing over and over again, but you'll see a clip of it and then I'll move on. But it was one of my favorite parts. I don't know, it's so fun. This Posca pen is so nice, and it's got such a little tiny nib on it, and it just made for a really fun time drawing this little trim. And I add like the little dots to give it more detail, and so cute. I think that eventually these will be, when I'm done with all of them, they will be stickers and maybe prints in my shop, probably holographic, because I feel like that give them that very celestial vibe. But there I am using a lid to make, I was standing there, so I was like bonking everything around to make the planet behind her, since that is what I've been using as like a little bit of a background. Is I draw the planet very simply. Like it's not like here I only ever use the light blue and the lightest green. I don't go in with more than that just because I don't want to detract too much from her. It's just supposed to be like a little detail hidden in there to make you to just so you can see that it's Earth. It's just supposed to be cute. But anyway, here within the next minute, you will see the finished piece and a up-close video if you lasted this far. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. I hope that you have a great day, a great week, and the holidays are coming up, so I hope you have some happy holidays. I will have a holiday video coming out for next week, so stay tuned for that. It won't be planet themed, but it'll be cute. I love you. Have a great time. Stay safe. Bye.